top and I pipe down. Hey, she asked for top and I tell the whole pipe down. Bitch, give me pop like right now. Yeah, bitch, right now. I pop a Zango, let's out. She give me top and I pipe down. Hey, she asked for top and I tell the whole pipe down. Bitch, give me pop like...
It goes without saying that this video contains spoilers, nigga. What's up, guys? Record Reezy back at you guys with another episode of MHA Fight Club. This time we have episode 5, Bakugo vs. SunEater. But before we get into this episode of Fight Club, a huge shout out to the bro Roto for making the thumbnail for this video. A link to his channel will be in the description box below. If you're new around here, this is how Fight Club works. I give a brief rundown of each fighter's quirk and tactics. Then I give my opinion on who I think wins and why. And then you guys hop in the comment section below and give me your thoughts on who you think won and why. And now without further ado, let's meet our first combatant. Bakugo, King Explosion Murder himself, is our first combatant. So without further ado, let's get a brief rundown of his quirk. Bakugo's quirk, Explosion, allows him to secrete nitroglycerin-like sweat from the palms of his hands and ignite it on command, allowing him to create strong explosions. The more Katsuki sweats, the stronger the explosions become. If Katsuki overuses his power, his forearms will start to ache after a while. Bakugo is a complete and utter savage. The dude's tenacity and will to win is next level, top notch, and cannot be outdone. One thing I wanted to address briefly about Bakugo is just how much stronger he got after his winter internship with Endeavor. Bakugo learned how to condense the power of his explosions and greatly increased his speed. He can even keep up with Deku at 30% full cowling if he pushes himself. Granted, it's important to note that Bakugo was thinking in his head and making it a race with Deku in that moment, and Deku was more focused on getting to a racer head than some of the others and thinking about ways how he could save them. But Bakugo has serious attack potency, crazy mobility on top of that. I think Bakugo's speed and mobility will give him a huge advantage in this matchup. But let's meet our next combatant, SunEater. SunEater is a very versatile, powerful, and just perceptive hero. Like, my guy managed to weaponize his opponent's friendship against him. Dude is top tier. But let's get a little background on his quirk. SunEater's quirk, Manifest, grants him the ability to manifest the physical characteristics of anything he's eaten. For example, if he eats Toyaki, pardon me for butchering that, he can transform his fingers into octopus tentacles. The more of a substance Tamaki eats, the stronger his manifestation. Now, for how do I think this whole fight plays out? Actually, one thing briefly before we get into that, I wanted to say, there's going to be some people, I'm sure, in the comment section who think that, oh, Tamaki could just like lick Bakugo's sweat or get a hold of his sweat and then start producing explosions. It's not really that simple, because in this matchup, both combatants are going to be wearing their hero gear. So Bakugo's palms are going to be covered by his gauntlets. And even if they weren't, it's like, okay, in the Two Heroes movie, whether that's canon or not is neither here nor there. Bakugo purposely laid his sweat on that villain for Todoroki to capitalize on. Typically, you're not going to get Bakugo's sweat to just land on you, because when he detonates those explosions from his palms, like, the force from the explosion is most likely going to blow the sweat away. So I kind of just wanted to put that out there before we get into the meat and potatoes of this matchup. Now, with all that out of the way, how do I see this fight going? Excuse me. I think Tamaki's best bet in this one is to keep things at mid-range, because he just does not have the mobility, the combat speed, the travel speed to keep up with somebody like Bakugo. And Bakugo excels at just creating pressure and just keeping that pressure on you till he completely overwhelms your defense and he can get that decisive blow. But I think this fight is high to extreme difficulty, for whoever wins it, and I'll give my thoughts on who I think will win a little later in the video. But I think Tamaki's best bet is to use his Chimera Kraken form because that will allow him to take full advantage of his own crazy reaction time. And with the Chimera Kraken form, he can attack as well as defend simultaneously. So with tentacles in every which direction, he can kind of counter Bakugo's vastly superior maneuverability, and that could really be a deciding factor in this one. Can SunEater keep his head on a swivel and just not lose track of Bakugo for even a second? Because the second Bakugo outmaneuvers him, the fight's over. Bakugo has such a high damage output, such a vast arsenal of attacks that do damage, that he created a plethora of attacks that take full advantage of his maneuverability and his destructive output, even down to his hero costume. We've seen recently in the manga, with the events going on right now, that Bakugo's fully charged Gauntlet Blast was capable of like moving a modified Shigaraki. Granted, that didn't do much damage to Shigaraki himself due to his modifications, but I don't see somebody like SunEater with just animal manifestations or whatever he's eating, like clam shells, tortoise shells. I don't see shells being enough to stop a fully charged gauntlet explosion from Bakugo, or a move like Hauser Impact. So at this point, I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I feel like Bakugo wins this fight, high difficulty, but I feel like SunEater makes it extremely competitive, because we've seen two kits from SunEater, his Chimera Kraken kit and his Centaur kit. Honestly, there's not much in the Centaur kit or in that hybrid form that would help him against Bakugo at all, other than the tentacles in that form. I don't know exactly what the manifestation is that he manifested to cause those tentacles, but I don't see that being enough to stop somebody like Bakugo, because Bakugo's speed, the fact that even though he's pushing himself, that he could keep up with 30% Deku, and we saw in this recent arc in the manga that 30% Deku can blow past Gran Torino, even though Gran Torino had a head start over there to Eraserhead trying to stop Shigaraki, and Deku blew right by him. And that's impressive that Bakugo, even if he's just pushing himself, which he has to in this fight if he wants to win, he's gonna have to push himself. The fact that he has that sort of travel speed, as well as his ability to maneuver in midair on a dime, that is catastrophic for somebody like SunEater in this matchup, because I'm not going to say SunEater isn't a fast hero, and against most villains or foes he would encounter, he would have the edge in mobility because of his manifestations. But Bakugo's speed and maneuverability are just on a different level. So I feel like SunEater is kind of restrained in what he can do to fight Bakugo to an extent. Now, obviously, Tamaki at this point is a master of his manifestations and bringing out different combinations. And I feel like his vast hybrid Chimera Kraken form is his best bet, because if he could have that form, have the shells on the tentacles, he could easily like throw a lot of tentacles at Bakugo at once and just but create an opening, so to speak. But Bakugo is a genius when it comes to combat. His instincts, all of that are top notch, which is why this is such a close battle in my opinion, because the two of them, when it comes to fighting, they're prodigies. But I think Bakugo just has enough, he does enough extraordinarily well to get the edge in this one. Like, if he were to just full speed blitz Tamaki and then change direction like he tends to do with the overhead, and then he could, if he manages to he doesn't even have to touch Tamaki at that point. He just needs to land a good explosion, or if he pulls one of his gauntlet pins that close and just completely blows Tamaki away. Or he could blitz him and try and use Explodapult, which takes full advantage of his maneuverability, or his stun grenade, or advanced, or his AP shot, which is a armor piercing attack. And like, Bakugo just has all the necessary tools, I feel like, to put this fight away, like high difficulty. And not to mention the difference in their character mentalities. Like, I'm not gonna say this is a deciding factor in the fight, but we see somebody like Tamaki get discouraged from like harsh words. And Bakugo, that's his whole MO. Talk his shit and then get in there and back it up and push himself to be the best. And I just feel like it gets to the point where Bakugo overwhelms Tamaki after an extended period of time. And another reason I have to give this fight to Bakugo is because when Tamaki's tentacles or other manifestations take damage, he feels that pain. So if he were to use Chimera Kraken and Bakugo were to use his new variation of AP shot that he used against Shigaraki, where it's a multiple like quick fire, multiple explosions, Tamaki would feel all that even though he's blocking them with his tentacles. And in that moment, Bakugo can condense his explosions, close whatever distance they have between them in the blink of an eye, and either stun grenade him, set up a Hauser impact. It's too many ways for Bakugo to win, and there's just not enough ways for Tamaki to really put Bakugo in a tough spot, because Bakugo is just such a savage on offense that he never really needs to play defense. And I feel like Tamaki would have just a hard time going from defense to offense, because you have to either get Bakugo out of his rhythm or off balance and then attack, and Bakugo is going to counter. He's going to take whatever hit you give him and he's going to counter. We've seen that in the final exams against All Might. We saw that in the second fight against Deku. Bakugo just isn't somebody to lose. And I know this video probably makes me sound like a Bakugo fanboy, but I'm not. It's just Bakugo's character, his tenacity, along with everything he gained from that winter internship. Current Bakugo is just a beast. But that's going to do it for this episode of MHA Fight Club, guys. Get in the comment section. Let me know what fight you guys want to see. They'll end up on the poll on Twitter. And then after everybody votes in the poll, I'll announce the next episode. If you guys get this video to 40 likes within a week, I'll drop the next episode next week. If not, maybe 2 weeks. But yeah, that's gonna do it for this one, guys. As always, thank you for all the love and support. I've been Reezy, you guys just got wrecked, and I'm gonna catch you guys in the next one. Peace.